Coming up on Grady Newsource, find out what's left on the table in the last day of the legislature section for the Georgia General Assembly, how an animal shelter in Athens is battling the parvovirus. Plus, we will take a look at how an $80,000 grant will impact middle schoolers learning in Georgia. All of this and more, live at 5.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College of the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
Hello and welcome to Grady Newsource. I'm Anna Ruth Riggins. The clock is winding down on the Georgia 2024 legislative session, with a number of bills yet to be decided before tomorrow. One controversial bill is now headed to the House. After the Georgia Senate approved it late last night, the bill will affect transgender students, limit sex education, and give parents a greater insight in curriculum in public schools only. Here's what Republican Senator Clint Dixon, who proposed amendments to Senate Bill 1104, had to say about it.
That's the bill that talked about educational freedom. I believe it was SB 233. So, Senator, my question is on line 279 and again on line 299, it says each local school system. Is there any reason this does not apply to any for-profit schools or non-profit schools or private schools of that nature?
With this, it applies to public schools because they receive funding from our state.
Senator, further question?
Sure.
With the bill we passed last week, will not those other schools receive funding from the state as well?
Well, I'm just telling you what this bill pertains to. Thank you.
The Quality Education Act still has to be voted on in the House before Governor Brian Kemp can sign it into law, and it's not the only controversial bill on the table tomorrow. I'm joined from the newsroom now by Grady Newsource reporter Sarah Fredrickson to tell us what he can expect from the final day tomorrow.
There's only one day left in the legislative session, and there's still a lot of controversial bills on the table. Just months before the 2024 presidential election, the General Assembly could change voting rules in Georgia. One of the bills would add a watermark to ballots, and the other could take away the QR codes that were originally used to count ballots. The Senate and the House both have to approve these different versions of the bill tomorrow. Yesterday, the Senate also passed two bills based on immigration, where one would penalize cities and counties that allow for sanctuary policies in the area. The other would ask for law enforcement to work closely with ICE to detain people that have committed misdemeanor crimes that might be held longer if they cannot prove their immigration status. The last bill I'm looking at is the $36 billion budget for the state next year. This bill was approved earlier in the Senate, but still has yet to be voted on in the House, and it must be voted on tomorrow. The UGA will receive an additional $5.5 billion for the new medical school, and more money will be put in to revamp the Capitol. That's it for all your Capitol news. I'll be back on Monday to tell you more about it. For Grady Newsource, I'm Sarah Fredrickson.
The Athens-Clarke County Animal Shelter reported 3 cases of the parvovirus and is not accepting owner-surrender dogs until Monday, April 8th. Grady Newsource reporter Hannah Dendy shows us how the animal shelter is dealing with the outbreak.
Canine parvovirus is a very contagious virus that can affect dogs, but unvaccinated puppies are the most at risk. The shelter is putting all the places that are affected under quarantine for 2 weeks, including the dogs. Until April 8th, the Athens-Clarke County Animal Shelter will only take in stray dogs because of space constraints. Director of the animal shelter, Christelle Barber, gives us more information on their quarantine to protect the other dogs.
So we actually use solid floor kennels. Like if our puppies go, which we really try not to bring the puppies out of the puppy room. I know some people think that may be cruel, but they're less likely to get contaminated.
To make sure the other dogs don't contaminate the puppies, they keep them on a solid surface which they can sanitize and not let them outside to possibly catch the virus. Brenda Hicks, a fellow dog adopter, loves the animal shelter and how well they can keep the dogs safe.
Definitely. As soon as it outbreaks, they know how to quarantine and clean and keep them all safe.
They did the areas and dogs that were affected. They have cleaning protocols in place to help make sure that they are doing everything so it doesn't spread to other animals. The Athens-Clarke County Animal Shelter is limited in taking in stray dogs and is not accepting owner-surrendered dogs until April 8th. The shelter is open during this time for owners of reclaimers of dogs and cat adoptions and intake for cats as well. And from Grady Newsource, I'm Hannah Dindy.
There's something unique about the rezoning proposal for a new private school in Jackson County's city of Braselton. Grady Newsource reporter Molly Langdon explains what is causing a delay in the commission's vote on the item.
National Heritage Academies applied to open a new public charter school in Jackson County for grades K through 8. This land must be rezoned to be used for this purpose, and the rezoning proposal started back in December.
Behind me is the proposed location for the new 4 Points Preparatory Academy that is set to be voted on by the Commission April 15th. This is an abandoned school building that used to be West Jackson Primary School.
Rezoning requests usually take around 3 months for approval, but the area surrounding the building's historic and recreational value is complicating and delaying the process.
The town of Braselton owns it, so it's, interesting that a government owns a building that they're taking it through zoning with another government. And then the other thing that's probably the big kicker is there's a historic gym on the property, and then there's also a park on the property.
Intergovernmental agreements are being worked on to protect the gym and park to make sure that it can be used for years to come. The delay in voting is partly due to the need for the IGAs from the Jackson County Commission and the town of Braselton to be signed before giving occupancy over the land.
To replicate that gym or that park somewhere else, if those intergovernmental agreements didn't work out, would be very expensive for the county.
Dove states a county concerned for increased morning and afternoon school pickup traffic with another public school across the street on the already busy highway. Both Commerce City and Jefferson City school systems sent letters of opposition to the commission stating they don't see the need for another school in their county that already has 3 public school options. Commerce City School Superintendent Joy Tolbert says her main concern isn't competition with the new school, but instead a federal funding issue. The commission will need a quorum of 4 to reach a vote. Dove says the most realistic opening date is August 2025. With Grady Newsource, I'm Molly Lang.
Athens Historical Society raised $100,000 for their new project. Grady Newsource reporter Lucy Birch finds out how one group is revamping Athens history for students.
Athens Historical Society is taking a new approach to teaching. Their new film project focuses on telling Athens history, but through an engaging lens for 11th grade students. One of the project founders and UJ professor, Cindy Helhamovich, wants the films to follow along with the current state curriculum.
Our idea was not to try to replace what they're doing, but to supplement the curriculum that they have to teach about U.S. history writ large with examples from Athens history.
They struggled with making a film that excited students, so they started a student committee.
We can make sure, for example, that the language is accessible in the film.
I'm here at what is now an empty lot, but used to be the Athens High and Industrial School, also known as the Knox Institute. This is where the first film was made for this film project. There are also going to be other films that include historical Athens places like here in front of the high-rise dorms at UGA. This actually used to be a historically black community that was displaced in the 60s called Lenintown. And the Athens Factory. This is now the School of Social Work.
Even native Athenian and Board of Education member Linda Davis is worried about students' historical learning.
I do believe that they have difficulties separating fantasy from reality.
With this newly raised $100,000 from the community, they plan on making at least 9 films in the future. This project might bring back these historical stories to reality.
For Grady Newsource, I'm Lucy Birch.
Coming up, Grady Newsource reporter Carly Ferris looks at how one organization is empowering young girls in the Athens area.
I lost my parents. Same.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Around the world, girls face disadvantages that make it difficult for them to reach their full potential. Grady Newsource reporter Carly Ferris tells us about a local organization dedicated to empowering young girls in the Athens area.
My parents, same year, a month apart. When I joined, I was not really, I didn't know how to deal with it. And then after a while of being in, it's kind of easier to control.
Cynthia is one of 20 girls who are members of Encourage Her Academy, a mentorship program dedicated to supporting girls ages 6 to 17 in the Athens area.
After college, I came back to Athens and really honed in on, was there any spaces that girls of colors could come to and really hone in on their voice, their confidence.
Realized there weren't any, she started Encourage Her in 2019, but they quickly transitioned to a virtual platform for kids to connect with each other amidst a global pandemic. The organization later began providing in-person meetings.
I was in a dark place within a year ago, and Miss Kiara has been one of the most helpful, loving, encouraging lady there is.
Just this past Saturday, Encourage Her celebrated the grand opening of their first official clubhouse in Watkinsville. They were previously operating out of temporary rented spaces. The key programs offered include youth leadership development, foreign language, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, CPR certification, and group and one-on-one mentorship.
We're very intertwined in their everyday life. So we go to baseball games, cheerleading practices, band concerts, parent-teacher conferences.
The Encourage Her girls develop a close relationship with Kiara and their mentors during their time in the program.
She'll pull you aside when everybody else working on like a group project, and then she'll ask you, is everything okay at home or with your stuff at school?
On Saturday, District 3 Commissioner Tiffany Taylor announced her personal donation of $1,000 to Encourage Her.
I'm just excited to see what all of these girls are going to do with their lives because of what Kiara is doing today.
For Grady Newsource, I'm Carly Ferris.
People in Jefferson across all phases of life are using CrossFit to stay healthy. Grady Newsource reporter Will Hopkins explores the diverse group working out together.
CrossFit is a fitness program with a mixed focus on strength training, cardio, and more. The training, along with the nutrition plan, is designed to provide quantifiable results.
For some, it's more than just a workout, though. There are deeper stories that are keeping people coming and doing CrossFit.
Here at Copa CrossFit in Jefferson, there are 7 participants at today's 9:15 a.m. boot camp class.
It's a special group of people that I've grown super fond of.
Ages in today's group range from 12 to 78 years old. 12-year-old Bo comes here with his mom. On the other end of the spectrum is BJ Stokes, at 78 years old. Regular physical activity can push back many of the typical issues that come with aging, according to the CDC.
I feel like if you keep moving through life, you will always feel better.
Does she see a difference between herself and her peers because of her exercise?
Oh yeah, most of them are on walkers or wheelchairs.
Meanwhile, one participant is carrying a little bit of extra weight.
Some movements are just harder, like rowing. I've got this big basketball in front of me.
Kara Schmidt is 8 months pregnant with her first child.
I don't like to just sit around, so it's just kept me active and sane, really.
It is recommended that pregnant women keep up with their usual exercise as long as they are comfortable, according to the National Health Service.
This is going to be my probably last full week of coming consistently, and then I'm going to take it a little slower the last month or so.
In the meantime, the others will continue to benefit from the improved strength, weight management, and brain health that come from exercise. Will Hopkins, Grady Newsource.
Coming up after the break, Grady Newsource reporter Jack Shields recaps last night's basketball game and previews this weekend of sports at UGA.
Cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
UGA basketball is still rolling in the National Invitational Tournament after a 79-77 upset win over Ohio State last night. Senior guard Noah Thomason led the Dogs in scoring with 21 points, and freshman guard Blue Kane added 17, including some clutch free throws down the stretch. The Bulldogs will head to Indianapolis to take on the winner of Seton Hall and UNLV in a semifinal matchup on Tuesday. The Atlanta Braves were scheduled to begin their 2024 season tomorrow on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Due to inclement weather, that game has been postponed to Friday at 3:05 p.m. Georgia gymnast Lily Smith has been named the SEC Freshman of the Year. Smith and teammates Anya Turner and Joffrey Scott also earned all SEC honors. The Gym Dogs will participate in NCAA Regionals on April 5th. Looking ahead now to this weekend, baseball will travel to Knoxville to take on the 5th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Softball will stay in Athens to host 20th-ranked Arkansas after a game tonight at Kennesaw State. The Bulldogs are currently ranked 3rd in the nation with a 27-4 record. That's all for sports today. After the break, we'll take a look at the 5-day weather forecast as well as some fun activities going on around Athens.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. Alright, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Happy Hump Day, Northeast Georgia. I'm Taft Gant with your weather report. We have made it through a gloomy weather from the past few days, but it is a beautiful afternoon with a high of 74 and mostly sunny skies. I spoke with a few UGA students who are taking advantage of the nice day.
This is probably the first really gorgeous day that we've had out here. It's like 70 degrees outside, no clouds, no wind. So this is perfect, and it makes it so we can meet up and make friends and connections. We're playing Ultimate Frisbee. This group comes out every Wednesday and every Friday to play. People from all different years of schooling, all different majors, backgrounds, places they've come from.
A lot more people show up when it's nicer weather.
Pass it here, Jack. Everyone is welcome to hop in the Ultimate Frisbee pickup games. They happen every Wednesday and Friday afternoon from 3:45 to 5:30 and are always welcoming new players with no experience required. And it will be a perfect weather to be active for the rest of the week as we look at the 5-day forecast. We have highs in the 70s with cooler temperatures overnight with a low of 30 degrees on Thursday night, but we'll see it warm up as we go through the weekend, getting all the way to Easter Sunday where it will be a wonderful 81 degrees, so you can go ahead and pull out those spring outfits. I'm Taft Gant, that's all we have for the weather, and we'll be back after the break.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
You know, a lot of people say, when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
As you can probably tell, I love fashion. And you might not think education, sustainability, and fashion go together, but reporters Abigail Watts and Mackenzie Baker who found out that they do.
UGA's Special Collections Library is collaborating with the College of Family and Consumer Sciences to create new learning experiences for Georgia middle schoolers.
I think a lot of times you're reading a textbook and you kind of understand that like the things you're reading about like really happened, but if you can see like a real document or a piece of history, then it becomes more real to you.
The project will introduce journey boxes, which will include historic replicas and interactive materials around fashion studies standards.
The Special Collections Library here at UGA houses several historical items that allow students to learn in an interactive and entertaining way. The journey boxes that they will create will allow students to have a similar experience with hands-on opportunities in their very own classrooms.
The things in our collection might be things about how clothes were made, so records from like mills or other manufacturing facilities that talk about like the process of making clothes.
Dr. Laura McAndrews secured an $80,000 grant for the project from the National Endowment for the Arts.
If these students are like, I'm really interested in this could be a major, this is something I could do as a job, I hope they get excited about it.
Tabitha Felto, who is a mentor for the Teen Fashion Design Club, says that hands-on experiences can inspire teens to pursue fashion.
You learn by doing. We feel like you want to explore and be creative and things outside of the box. I feel like it's the way that you can learn that.
Abigail Watts for
Can
Grady
fashion be
Newsource.
sustainable? That's the question Sonny Bumgarner posed to a classroom of environmental ethics seminar students at the University of Georgia. Sustainable fashion can be described as clothes that are created and consumed in a sustained way that protects the environment and the people producing the clothes. It also works to combat the issues fast fashion has created over time. One of those issues is the vast amount of clothing being produced and the buildup of waste from overproduction.
It's something we don't really see because most of the textile waste gets shipped to Africa. But still a lot of it, of course, ends up here in the landfill and creates all kinds of issues here and everywhere in the world.
Unwanted clothing that ends up in landfills can clog gutters and cause flooding. Bumgarner owns Community, a sustainable fashion company in Athens. The small business sells redesigned, handmade, and vintage clothing. Laura Emerson, who was at the seminar, used to be a fast fashion retail buyer for stores like Forever 21 and Ross. Now she's an MBA student at UGA, learning sustainable business practices that she hopes to one day implement in the industry she loves.
I'm like an outdoorsy person, and I couldn't reconcile like what I was doing 5 days a week at work versus like then I'd go out and go to Yosemite on the weekend and be like, oh my god, I'm ruining this other part of the planet that I can't see, but that I'm enjoying this one that's nice and preserved. Like it just felt so, I don't know.
The most sustainable fashion is the fashion you already own. So before you turn to a big name retailer, take a quick look through your closet. You never know what kind of hidden gems you may find that you forgot about. The question, can fashion be sustainable, is one where the answer depends entirely on the choices we make today. For Grady Newsource, I'm Mackenzie Baker.
That's all for tonight. I'm Anna Ruth Riggins with Grady Newsource. Have a great night and Easter weekend.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark. fire starts.
Thank you.
Study, please. I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
And chaos that is part of being in a control room and airing a live show. And hopefully we were able to give you a good impression. We are still learning, and we had a very interesting day. As I shared a little bit our challenges of today and how we didn't have a top story and we kept struggling to find that top story. We liked the parvovirus, but we thought that we needed something that impacted even more people. And so we had our digital producer, Sarah, double as our live reporter. For the first time, we used that smartboard. We hadn't used it before to have something in the background that's relevant to the live shot, since we didn't have a presence there today. And she did a great job. Our anchor did a great job. She wrote part of that introduction. And so I'm really grateful. But that's what happens in a real newsroom. It's a team effort. And people pitch in and they change sometimes roles and they help out. And I am very grateful that this happened today. And yeah, we worked on, we gave Will a hard time, but I think this package kind of gave us a slice of life, the CrossFit. But we did give you a hard time and you delivered. Yeah, so we had a lot of discussions, a lot of things that we did for the first time, and people are tired, as you can tell. I understand it. I can totally relate. No, I didn't mean to single you out. Yeah.
I have that effect on people. I do.
Me too. Yeah. And
if any of you else need to emote, go ahead. Go ahead. I understand.
Yeah, I put them to sleep also. Yeah, we worked with several of the scripts in which I suggested you make a few changes, like start. We keep working on how do you start a package, and I had a few suggestions, which is easy for me to do. They do the hard work, and then I look at their script and say, hey, you can actually start with this soundbite, or you can start with that. And they changed their packages, and we worked a little bit on that because they had some great content, and we worked on moving it around. And I'm really proud of everything, Molly. I know why you're tired, because that was not an easy story, yours, to explain. And I thank our wonderful producer who really tried a lot of interesting things, including the umbrella lead, where we introduced for the first time 2 packages, one after the other. And that worked out. It was interesting, I think. Did you like it? How did you feel about that?
Okay. About that, I really liked that. I really liked what we were just talking about, like, can we put ourselves in the show? So, like, thinking about who Anna Ruth was really important to me, like, as I wrote to the show as well for the teasers and stuff. And I think everybody was on time today. Everybody did what they had to do, so it was easy for me. So I will say, like, when you are the producer, really look at the pitch sheet, because I kind of already knew how I wanted to stack the show. And even with my backup ideas, I still knew if you guys continued to do it, Will's story actually worked out really good because it was right before sports. I don't know if anybody saw that. And it was like right after talking about her sojo, which was also about like impact. So I think thinking about the show as a whole and how the next story and the story before affects it, I think is super important. But I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, Karina, and I really, I think you have the thinking of a producer. I know you're very talented. You want to be an anchor and reporter. But most of the jobs, I mean, are producer jobs. So that's something you could consider in a bigger market to get your foot in the door. It's a very valuable skill. Producers are in high demand and very scarce. So I was really very pleasantly surprised because they all get one chance to produce. So it's like in one day, they learn how to produce. Of course, they have a feel for it because they've anchored shows. So kudos to you. I really appreciate how much thought you put into this and how many creative ideas you had and executed. So very well done, very, very well done. And our anchor was very composed and you nailed the show. You anchored, you really were a kind of a heavy and solid anchor for the show. We also, before I hand it over to you, as we say on it, we also struggled how to localize the bridge collapse, which is like the top national story, but we couldn't find at short notice an expert who could have looked at the economic angle, how would that affect us. So we decided that people would get their big news on, all the other networks, and we would focus on the hyper-local. So that was our day. Anybody else wants to share with Dr. Peters any adventure that you had on this day? And of course we didn't, the Frisbee was like making...
That was the highlight.
Yes, the plate, yeah. That was the highlight. We were all laughing, and thank you. Yeah, I was telling Dr. Peters, you are natural on camera. The camera just loves you. You can get away with anything, even with the plate as a Frisbee. Well done, well done. No, that was very creative. Yeah, very creative. Anybody else wants to share with Dr. Peters? And I would say let's hear your thoughts, and really thank you for. We know how busy you are. You just came back from Poland, still jet lagged, and you still made it here to.
I landed late Monday night, so I'm still kind of upside down and backwards from that. The prefatory comment that I'll make here is that I always feel woefully inadequate to critique any broadcast show because I have virtually no broadcast experience. My video appearances have all come as a guest, on a TV program. And I mentioned this to you, Ralitza, that I always am horrible at it in the sense that when I'm in a studio, I get very easily distracted by things. And so, the kind of controlled chaos that is a control room, and the studio itself. I've got somebody in my ear saying, like, please look forward. And, I'm just looking around and I'm looking at all the bells and whistles and lights and, the whirly gigs as they go around the room. So that is my prefatory comment. And so I think instead I'll just give you a quiz on communication law, and then we'll just go from there. No, I mean, kidding aside, I thought a lot of composure, particularly, I can't remember what minute this was in the show, but it was, I think there was a count that was wrong on one of the packages that was something like 15 minutes. And that of course, seemed, yeah. Yes, that's right, yeah. Yeah, but when I heard that, even as somebody inexperienced.
I couldn't believe it initially. I couldn't believe it. I was like, she's kidding, isn't she? And she was serious, So
even with my inexperience, I thought that seems lengthy. That seems like a pretty deep dive into this. But nevertheless, I thought recovered well and moved quickly to solve that problem. I thought crisp transitions. The reporting was good. The delivery showed a lot of poise. What Ralitza said about you was true. Very, very in control, in command of the studio the whole time. Taft, I appreciated the personality that you brought, to the report. Which in some ways, it's kind of difficult to spice up, weather report, but I think you did that. But you didn't overdo it either. So, I didn't have the reaction watching you like, okay, let's tone it down a little bit. I didn't, like the Frisbee was great, the plate. And so, again, I thought reporting good, production quality good. The couple of minor little snafus that occurred in the control room, they were very, very quickly resolved, and I think to anybody watching the show would have been entirely unnoticeable. So, from one amateur to a bunch of professionals, I think you did really well. So I continue to be proud of you. So good job. And what do you guys think? You're the ones in the driver's seat here. How do you think it went? And you know more about this than I do.
Oh yeah, I October.
She is volunteering in another place, so unfortunately she has to leave. But really thank you for doing double duty on a very complicated top story. Very well done. Thank you.
The other thing I should have pointed out to you all is that I'm wearing jeans. Thank you. Right. Yes. You get to see me out of uniform. Yeah. So soak this in while you've got the opportunity. That's probably true. Yeah. I will immediately go home and put on a suit when I get home. I will. So what do you guys think?
Today I was expecting like more in my ear, like, oh, something's happening, like something's going wrong. Like I was just expecting that, and then like nothing bad was happening. It's almost like, oh, like I was really like, I don't know, not that usually happens, but it was just really like, it was really calming, honestly, down there. Like the only things I had in my ear was that like Karina encouraging me, and so like that was really good. And the way that everyone wrote the show, wrote their leads was very easy for me to read, which I feel like sometimes that isn't the case. And so thanks to everyone for writing very readable leads.
Next time I'll get in your ear more. And even if I have nothing to say, I'll just talk to you about New York Times Sullivan or something.
Yeah, I've told them I used to have a boss who, 5 seconds before air, he would say, Rolitza, 5 seconds to live air, time to tense up.
That's not helpful.
Totally opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, he was weird. We did the overnight shift together. But he was just, I knew what to expect. And he really loosened you up, and just like, don't take yourself too seriously. So guys, anybody else wants to share something? I will be. Very creative stand-ups, but 15 minutes, they're not worth 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was actually 15 minutes, or I guess it was like 12 minutes of darkness on that screen, and then at the very end there was a tiny little clip that I didn't see. So double check and make sure, even if it says on the rundown and on Premiere that it's 1 minute and 31 seconds, you should still double check, guys. So that was my bad. But other than that, my story, we kind of switched it around because I kind of started out a little bit boring, we realized, and we kind of needed to pull in the drama, that's what we were saying. And so we ended up switching that around, and I think that worked really well, so, yeah.
With 15 minutes, I just...
It out of her package, it was like, it was like halfway through or whatever, and I'm, oh my goodness. So I came here and I said, now tone me down if I'm getting overly excited. You know more about the story than me. And I said, but how about if you start with a drama? And she said, oh yes, let's start with the drama. And we did, but she, you're always open to my crazy ideas, and sometimes you just tell me that it doesn't work, but I keep, I get excited about things when I see them. Yeah, I thought it worked out very well, and I really like the stand-ups. Yeah. And Carly, do you want to share something? You worked really hard on that story, and I pushed you as well, but...
So you, I appreciate you helping me to prioritize a character in all of my stories, because I sort of forget to do that, and it's really important to sort of give a face to whatever the issue is. So that's why I ended up starting with that SOT. I think my biggest challenge was kind of at the end of it, just trying to, or like when we were running out of time, Karina was like, oh no, you can't be 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I was like, please. But no, I had to cut it down. So that kind of messed up a few things, like at the end, the audio was a little messed up and some of the clips were a little cut short, but I'm still happy with how it came out, and yeah, it was a fun story to cover, for sure. Yeah.
Let's use the mic together, because I wasn't really understanding the story. She was really lost in the weeds, which happens to me and to everyone else. And you need somebody to kind of, who doesn't know as much, to keep asking you, but I don't understand this. I mean, what is this? And so she was able to refine it and not take this personally, which I really appreciate, because I really appreciate, this was a very, very complicated story, and you managed to explain it to us. So, yeah, we had an interesting day with a lot of moving parts, and it's not the perfect thing. No show is perfect, but yeah. So we did our best. That's the only thing you can do, and we had the parvovirus, which was very newsworthy, and yeah. Anybody else wants to share a thought?
No, not again. Yeah.
I kept mispronouncing it when I was interviewing people, and they're like, "Are you talking about coronavirus or parvovirus?" I was like, "Obviously, I'm not talking about coronavirus," but I learned a little bit into it to learn how to pronounce it, so that was good. So it was pronounced right in my package, and Anna Ruth knew how to pronounce it right on air. Yes. But I think my story went well. Got lots of characters and lots of really good B-roll of the dogs and stuff, so it was a nice package.
It'd be a real buried lead if you were coming along 4 years later with a story on the coronavirus, just breaking it wide open. Right. And the other thing, piggybacking off of what Professor V said, in any learning experience, you can't let perfect be the enemy of good. She said there's no such thing as a perfect show. There's no such thing as a perfect newspaper, perfect website, perfect magazine. You do the best you can today, and then try to do better tomorrow. Yeah, that's it. And whatever mistakes you make on the field today, leave them there. You learn from them so you don't make them again, but leave them there and start anew tomorrow. Yeah, that's the best way attitudinally to go about this work. Yeah, this work is hard enough as it is without putting undue pressure on yourselves.
Great. Very well said. Much better than me. Yeah. You just have to keep going. And it hurts, and usually it feels worse than it actually is. You're scared, especially if you've been the anchor. Right. And you're like, I don't want to see this. It's going to hurt. And then it always feels worse than it actually has looked on air.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
But it's nice not to happen, but it happens, and that's the only way you can learn, and you should know that this will happen to you in real life, but you're sort of prepared because you've been through a few of those with me, and hopefully nothing else can scare you as much as I can scare you here. Yeah. We also do a lot of posting on digital, so we try to have the two work together, like our anchor did a social post this morning, we call it the Grady Daily, where she gives the top 3 hyper-local news for people. And she also repurposed some of her scripts for this show as well.
Cool.
Very cool. Leslie, would you like to talk about, she was also our digital producer. We have 2 who post content and work with the broadcast reporters to do something also for our digital. So how about you share a few thoughts?
I feel like we got a good bit posted today. We posted a lot on Instagram. So we were talking about the Sojo show that is coming up. We did an explainer, kind of just showing what it was, and then had a poll, and we posted that on Instagram and Facebook. We posted Anna Ruth's Grady Daily, and then shared Jessica's story on YouTube since it didn't make it into the show tonight, and on Facebook, and then a story about events going on around Athens for Easter, and Abigail's story also made it to Instagram.
How many people do you have coming in?
It would be 5, and
Okay.
that is the challenge
Yeah.
because we tried that for the first time last semester. And so we had these people here, 5 chairs, but we will try to do it a little bit different. We recorded it, which was really tough because then by 5 p.m. we had to put all these recordings
together.
And we're thinking about
Right.
going live. It's going to be
Okay. Okay.
and doing it a little bit differently because I think I learned a little bit from that first attempt and what we can do differently. So we're still thinking about it as we're meeting. We started thinking about it today, and the first thing we did was that quiz.
Gotcha.
So we'll see where that goes. And we'll do things a little bit differently. We'll try to go live. And Karina has more than volunteers an anchor, but it seems like it's not working with your schedule. So we're looking for an anchor, but that means if you're anchoring that show, I will work with you to prepare you. It's going to be a very different show. You have to be very well adapted to a cheat sheet with a lot of facts or follow-up questions to keep things going, and I will work with you on that. But think about whether that's something that you could pull off. The 10th of April, is when our Sojo show is going to be.
We actually already got our anchor.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
I will take a look at it, So they started with the document while I was in this show production. I guess they figured out who was going to be the anchor. Good. And so that's how we learn by actually doing, trying things, and they don't always work perfectly, but it's the only way to learn better.
That's right.
Making mistakes here in the sandbox out there.
I'm just eternally grateful that my early stories as a reporter were basically pre-digital archives, and so they are not findable, thank goodness, and I'm grateful for that every day. I remember the first time that something that I wrote ever drew a really negative reaction from the community. And I was something like 19, and I did not know how to process that because I went to college in the town where I grew up. And so it was this humiliation that I was feeling that not only is it my campus community that would read this and then think whatever they thought about me, but I was thinking, oh my goodness, my mom and dad and their friends and all of our people who went to church with us, they're all going to read this. And the thing that I grossly overestimated, number one, was the number of people who actually read what I wrote. And then number two, the people who cared. And so that, I think, has helped me kind of keep perspective over the years. As I started out writing for what would be the equivalent of the Red and Black at my college, and then wrote for the Community Daily, and then wrote for the Columbus Dispatch. which is Ohio's version of the AJC, wrote for its competitor, the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And then it took me a little bit to break into the national scene, because it's just every time you go up a level from local to state to national, it's hard. There's some friction there because the competition gets a lot deeper and wider. And then eventually made it to national magazines, like Esquire, Vanity Fair, Sports Illustrated, and others. And at that level, I was reminded time and again of the importance of editing. And everybody, no matter your skill as a reporter, as a writer, as an on-air talent, everybody needs an editor. And Professor V mentioned a few minutes ago, I think it was in relation to your story, Molly, about when you're trying to tell a conceptually difficult story, the better that you know it, the easier it is to leave unsaid some assumption that you were making about the knowledge of your audience. And that is where an editor can come in and kind of backfill and say, listen, you jumped from A to C. And I have no idea. Yeah, right.
It was an A to C jump.
And yeah, the editor comes in and says, you have to lay the track for B. And for me, that was particularly true because I was writing about highly specialized topics related to law. And the majority of people who read me are not lawyers. They're not legal scholars. So my best editors were people who knew nothing about the things I was writing about. And that person was as close as I would get, pre-publication to a member of my audience, who would say, I don't get this. What you're using all of this weird legal nomenclature. Can you strip that away and tell me a story the way that a normal human being would tell the story to somebody else? And so I think, okay, that's the kind of check that I needed. Before that, before I got professional editing, I used to impose on my mom and dad to do this a lot because my dad was a journalism professor and my mom was an English teacher, so I kind of had this inbuilt advantage, or growing up, this was decidedly a disadvantage for me when I was in school, having two parents with that kind of background. But at any rate, very often when I would write something that would be highly technical, I would ask one, will you take a peek and just let me know what I'm leaving unsaid that I need to say to cover A, B, C, D in a linear fashion. So don't get ego about that, about being edited, about somebody giving you constructive criticism. That is an indispensable part of getting better. And wherever you want to be, if you want to make a career in local news, I think that's wonderful and critically important democratically. Or if you're looking at then cracking into a larger market, maybe eventually making it to a network, it requires that kind of patience in working with frequently a number of thoughtful, careful, demanding, challenging editors and producers. So there's my tidbit for the day. That may just be the jet lag speaking. It could be at this point.
Yeah, that's the best advice, and that's the way it's been for me too. CNN had those people. They called them the row because they sat like in the newsroom exactly in a row.
Man.
And they're like hired just like this, and then you never know. You submit your piece, and you never know who's going to get it. And there was one particular person who will remain unnamed when you got your piece.
Oh, yikes.
Uh-huh. Challenge you saw where you skipped from A to C
right.
and really asked you and really asked you to work it back in a way that it's like you never saw the strength of it until you were pushing your limit.
Right.
So I really learned to appreciate that and not take it personally because people don't know that, you edited my package. They see my name is on it and it looks so good.
That's right.
Thanks
Yeah.
to him.
Right. Yeah. Credit being given where it's due.
Yeah. He doesn't get the credit.
Uh-huh.
1 minute? It's 5 years ago.
Oh, goodness.
1 minute more.
Wow. Well, again, thank you for letting me crash your party. I really enjoyed it. This was fun. I am promptly going to go home, eat dinner, and go to bed after this. That is the biggest desire that I've had all day at the office today. But again, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. When I visit Newsource, when I visit the Red and Black, and any of the other places where students work, in Athens and beyond, it is always exceptionally heartening for me because I have full faith in the future of journalism, and knowing that the community's news needs here in Atlanta, beyond, wherever you all land, that they will be well met. And so just keep kicking ass, the way that you're doing that. And then now we'll get some FCC complaint, and I'll handle that. So don't worry about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thank you again.
We are honored, and it makes it even more special because we know how busy you are anyway, and the fact that you landed just a day or two or so forward. Just like I know if you Google, and
It's real. Yeah. Well, I knew that Molly would be emotional, so I had to come. Exactly. That's right. Yeah, I couldn't let you down. So. You do.
Proud of them from day one because they really performed way above what I expected.
That's right.
And I've been really hard on them, and I hope they haven't taken it personally, but I've seen them grow.
I mean, give you a couple of years, I'll be reporting to you. That's the way this is going to work out. I guarantee it, and that's fine with me. I'm completely comfortable with that.